Wonderful. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. Constantine and I are here from our customer success team here at Curious Thing, and today we're going to be sharing some of our learnings around our most successful deployments of AI solutions. So today we hope that you're going to come away with some really great knowledge and tools to launch and scale AI within your business and give your customers a fantastic experience. In the spirit of reconciliation, Curious Thing AI acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So let's jump into today's webinar. My name is Emma Wiltshire and I am a customer success lead here at Curious Thing. I love working with our customers and customer experience professionals to find new ways to introduce digital assistants into their customer journeys and workflows. And I'll hand over to Constantine for a quick intro.
Hey everyone, I'm Constantine. I'm the implementation analyst here at Curious Thing, and I work in the building testing space of how to get the best value out of our AI for your business and customers.
Brilliant. So for today's webinar, we're going to be starting with Constantine, who will be sharing the most common mistakes to avoid when introducing AI. Then we'll look at how to get your stakeholders buy-in and create advocates within your organization. And finally, we'll look at what happens after you've implemented a new AI solution and the next steps for your digital assistant. And then we'll jump into a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions throughout today's session, please drop them in the Q&A below. So to start, I'll hand over to Constantine.
So before I get into our chat about pitfalls today, I'm going to launch our first poll about whether you've been involved in an AI project before, and we'd love to see your responses in the chat. Now, to start with our first pitfall of today, new technology is exciting, and exploring what's out there can get easy to get lost in the excitement and feel like a kid in a candy shop. What's new? What looks exciting? What feels different? But we don't bring new technology in because it's new. To help focus on what solution's right, we need to bring it back to two things. One, what does the business need from this solution? And two, how will this impact your customers, and will they enjoy the experience? So this brings the question, how do we figure this out? My life before implementing AI, I was working in frontline operations teams, and you really see it all when working so closely with customers. You see what customers love, what keeps them coming back to your brand, and you also see what they really don't like, usually in the form of a rant. Your frontline team are the exact folks you should be speaking with when trying to understand what your customers are saying. They see it all, are passionate about your customers, and give you a good pulse on what your average customer is saying. We generally recommend exploring customer sentiments with tools such as design thinking sessions, blue sky thinking, or open forums with your ops teams to hear what they're seeing on the ground. On the business front, understanding what's important to your different stakeholder groups is essential too, and Emma will expand a bit more on this later on. Okay, so we know customers want something different, and we have a new technology on the table. So how do we know if it works? In the early days of scoping, it's important to understand what success would look like for this new tech, and also how we're going to measure it. This could be downloads from that new app that your team has just released, or checking customer sentiments with something more traditional like an NPS score. Early in implementation journeys, we place a really high importance on setting up these measures of success so that there's a clear vision of what we need this solution to do. This also sets a clear foundation of what's important when pivoting the solution to ensure that when we are changing the experience, it's aligned with the fundamental goal of the solution. So this brings us to, well, what touchpoints do you choose with automation? A good place to start is what are the largest pain points in your team? And this can literally be, what are the day in, day out conversations that feel painfully repetitive? You can also consider what is preventing your team from scaling. We tend to find the opportunities that fit well with automation by looking at what tasks are highly repeatable, require a lot of time from your team, but don't really need that high human touch point compared to more complex inquiries. So now before getting into pitfall number 2, let me set the scene. Your favorite company has just released a new product offering, but you don't know if it's available in your account. There aren't many deets on the website, but they have a chatbot. So you input your details and you start asking questions. That didn't really help. it felt a bit clunky, and you now call their online support number. The automated replies sound good. It answers a few of your questions, but you need a bit more information. So you ask to transfer to a person. Now you start listening to those great IVR tracks. And the music's good. It's not 20 minutes good. And finally, you hear a crackle at the end of the line, followed by the voice of a human. That was me last week. And I was reminded that automated journeys can stick out like a sore thumb when not done right. What this example had was many opportunities to delight customers with an AI that felt cohesive in the overall journey, but it was choppy, an under-delivered chatbot, and a very long wait time when finally asking to speak to a person. Now, it's expected that you'll have a few journeys in your tech stack, and careful consideration and testing should take place to see how well each journey fit in with one another. Something we practice often is mocking up a customer scenario and seeing how a solution can handle it end to end. This is without worrying about what's happening behind the scenes and purely focusing on the experience alone. Does it feel natural? Does it answer all our questions? What does escalation feel like? This end-to-end testing ensures that the holistic picture is kept front of mind, because truth be told, any individual solution you have is only part of your larger customer journey. Now, customers, they can be a fussy bunch and expect the experience will be consistent across all their devices and channels. Your web chat should be just as good as your voice experience. So it's incredibly important that you consider, what does that omni-channel experience feel like? Now, what I've been talking about here is seamless experiences, and they're not only expected by your customers, but also by your team members. In design, it's recommended to eliminate points of friction for your team. This can be done by looking at how customer actions are both communicated and coordinated with your AI solution. And also consider, how will your team leverage and learn from the data of your solution? And how can they use it as building blocks for further improvements? Now, this brings us to our third pitfall. So AI feels pretty valuable at this point. So let's go full steam ahead and automate everything. Wait, we may be going down the tunnel to automation, over automation. But what do we exactly mean by that? When automating any process, it's important to bring it back to, what value are we adding when automating? Consider the frictions in your current journey and look at what your team is struggling with at scale. What we've seen in our practice has been a significant benefit to customer service teams when automating their tier 1 service inquiries. These are customer actions that are simpler, highly repeatable, and when off the plate of your human team, there's more time for them to focus on more complicated inquiries. Another consideration to protect yourself against over-automation is baking in escalation points right from the start. And looking at what scenarios or trigger require escalation. Is it someone just saying, I want to speak to someone, rather than button mashing on an IVR? And what does the escalation process look like? Will this sit with the dedicated team? The regular service number? Is there enough coverage to handle escalations? These are all factors that need to take into account with good automation design. Now, this brings us to our final pitfall. Change, change, change. It can sometimes feel chaotic. What we find that helps is creating a comfortable environment. Be open and honest with your team about why we're implementing. And this helps promote a feedback loop and genuine input and excitement from the team. And there's plenty to be excited about when introducing a new digital team member that's going to support your human team to give the service they love to give. It also helps to plan who will be involved throughout the entire implementation journey, as there are plenty of different steps where different perspectives can help, from scoping to testing to go live, right through to post-live reviews and changes. Lean on the experience from your team. Now, what is your customer service team doing that brings value to your customers that can be replicated with an AI? But in saying that, it's also important to remember to test assumptions and back your decisions with data when you have it. Bringing in an example with our debt collection space, there was a widely held belief by our stakeholders that if we removed our pre-call SMS, notifying debtors that you would receive a call from our AI, you'd get more people answering the call and they wouldn't call dodge because they wouldn't know who's calling. But what we found in A/B testing was when we removed the SMS, we lost all our inbound after hours traffic, which was a significant portion of total debts paid. Although there was a fear of call dodging, what we could prove in the data from testing was the greatest value from SMS was letting callers know, hey, here's where and why I'm calling you. Give us a call back when it's convenient for you. And this brings me to my final point, and something that rings especially true from my days in operations. A great customer success team just doesn't happen overnight. It requires continued work through training, ensuring team members are aligned, that knowledge is being shared throughout the team. As much as it's tempting to see automation as a set and forget strategy, it's important to remember there isn't a human team out there that is. To bring the best out of the AI solution, review it, and see how you can improve it. I'll now pass you to Emma, who will chat to you more about how to introduce AI into your organizations.
Thank you, Constantine. So before I jump into the next topic, I'm going to launch another poll to ask the audience today, what are the main barriers for you when to start introducing AI? So I'll launch that now, and we'd love to hear your answers in the poll. And also, if you have any questions from Constantine's discussion, please feel free to drop them in the chat throughout the rest of today's webinar. So to start, let's look at how to win stakeholder buy-in when you're introducing a new AI solution into your organization. From the outset of introducing any new solution, we want to know which people should be involved in the project and how to bring them along in your journey in storytelling. So first, you want to look at who is important for the adoption and success of this new AI solution in your organization and what matters to them. Secondly, you want to define a clear scope and objectives for what you're trying to achieve with the AI. And finally, how to share the outcomes and create a story that you're building around your AI journey and the value that it can bring for your teams and organization. So the first step is to identify and understand your stakeholder group. This is a wonderful exercise to go through at the start of the project or when you're expanding your technology into new areas of the business or different streams of work. So the first question to answer is, who is important for the success of the project and the overall adoption of AI throughout your organization? So if you're in the pilot phase, this will look like who is going to be leading the project and who will be the key point of contact that drives the project throughout the initial months. You also might want to look at who might benefit from this solution. So often we see that this is the call center and customer support teams because they're the operational, their operational work is generally what's been improved with the use of AI. You also want to consider who's going to be responsible for the budget and the long-term strategy that involves your AI. And lastly, who else needs to be involved from either marketing or brand or customer experience when it comes to launching a new channel. After you've identified these stakeholders, the second question to ask is, what objectives do they share with the solution or project? So understanding what is important to them, what are their KPIs, and are they passionate about this new channel or this new technology? And if you can identify that they do share a lot of objectives with what you're trying to achieve, can they become an advocate and help you along the journey of storytelling and sharing the possibilities of using AI? The third question is, what help do you need from them or from their teams? So this could be looking at the leadership team in terms of stakeholder buy-in, training your customer support staff if they're going to be interacting and dealing with the new AI assistant, any marketing or brand support that you need for the new channel experience, or any legal approvals. And the last question to ask is, how comfortable are they, or what's their risk appetite when it comes to this new AI solution? One of the things we sometimes hear is that people are nervous about introducing voice AI to their customers because it's a new channel for a lot of organizations. So the questions they're asking themselves are, will this be a positive experience for my customers? Will people be accepting and willing to speak to the AI? And would I personally want to receive this call? And would that be something that I want to give to my customers? So if any of your key stakeholders are expressing concerns or have more risk aversion towards this, we always recommend testing out the solution in a low risk environment and with a low risk customer group. So for example, many of our clients train up a new AI agent to offer after hours support for their customers, so that when the customer is calling with an inquiry at 8 p.m. at night, we're actually providing an additional service, which they wouldn't otherwise get support for. So this can be a really great touch point to test customer willingness to speak to an AI and gather additional feedback. We can also ask the customers how they found the experience speaking with the AI. This could be the AI asking themselves or your customer support team asking them after the fact, and then share that feedback back with the business. And so we find that on average, 80% of customers are happy and willing to speak to the AI, which is something that is often challenging people's initial perceptions around voice AI. And so these types of activities can help build your trust in what you're doing with your stakeholder group and help them become advocates along your journey. A great example of stakeholder buy-in is your leadership team, such as your COO. They can play a key role in the adoption of the solution throughout the project and beyond, not only in terms of budget approvals, but also for the wider business strategy and how it can fit into your operational workflow. So by asking these questions and by mapping out your stakeholders, you can start to tell a story around the value of the AI that resonates with them. So if they care about operational efficiency and cost optimization, show them the numbers and share the feedback from your ops team. And if they are new to the technology or apprehensive about bringing in a new channel like voice AI, get them to try out the experience or try out a call for themselves and see if they like the experience and get their feedback from the start. A second step is to define a clear scope and objectives for the AI solution. So when you've set up a project group of your key stakeholders, assign a team lead and agree on how the group wants to work together. This might be a 15-minute daily stand-up when you're going through a fast implementation cycle, or longer sessions for workshops and discussions when it comes to brainstorming or sharing results with the wider group. Secondly, you want to set a clear scope and objectives. So if you're introducing AI for the first time, we normally recommend to keep the scope narrow and try to validate 1 or 2 key value points for the organization. So in the example of a pilot, this might be, first of all, are my customers willing and happy to speak to an AI over a human? And can the AI handle our 3 most common inquiries? So once you've narrowed down that scope and objectives of the pilot, you can easily validate that, and that can build into your business case to share in terms of what other areas might we want to use the AI for. The third point is to identify your success metrics. So in an operational setting, this might be the cost to serve your customers, time to resolution, or payments collections in a debt space. You should choose the success metrics that will help build your business case for why you should or shouldn't proceed with the solution. And we also recommend assigning a goal in terms of what we want to achieve with each of these success metrics. So some people will benchmark the metric against an existing process. So for example, if you're replacing a conversation that's currently been handled by human agents, you can benchmark it against the human agent performance. Or some of our other clients will do A/B testing with a control group and a target group to see how was the experience compared to our normal SMS or email process. And finally, we want to identify risks and opportunities. Is there anything that we should be considering when it comes to launching the AI into the wider business strategy? And this is important to understand from the outset of the project. And our last step is around how do you communicate your progress and results with your stakeholders? So the first step is to create an action plan and communication plan with your timeline, your milestones, your go live date, and to make sure that the right people are involved at each stage of the process and they understand the responsibilities and how much they want to be involved. The second step is thinking about how you want to communicate value back to your stakeholders. This might be a weekly email update. It could be a call from the AI itself. And so that your project is kept top of mind and so that your stakeholders can see the journey that you're going on and the learnings that you're gaining throughout the pilot. The third step is to set up an open feedback channel. So your frontline staff are closest to your customers, so they'll have some really good feedback when it comes to what's working well with the AI solution, are customers complaining about any aspect of it, or what other problems could it solve based on the conversations they're listening to from their customers or other areas they can identify. Then you want to go ahead. If you decide to go ahead with the solution, you can put together a business case for how it can contribute to your wider business strategy. So all of the data points that you've collected throughout the project from your success metrics, feedback sessions, workshops can really help tell your story. And the final step is to showcase the success to the wider business. So we encourage our clients to invite other areas to see the great work that you're doing, because more often than not, when you see AI applied to one use case within your business, someone else might have a problem where they can think, actually, this AI could really solve this problem for me here. So this could be a showcase, an open working group or workshop, or even at company all hands. And if you have advocates within your team that you've identified or people that are really passionate about this type of technology, bring them into this process to help tell your story. And so our last topic for today is looking at what happens when your AI team member passes probation and you're looking at what's next for them. So the first point to think about is to keep your feedback channels open. So often we'll see that, that our clients will have a feedback channel with the customer support group, for example, at the start of the pilot, but we actually want to encourage people to continuously be sharing this feedback. So even after the pilot, your feedback channel is open for both your customers and your support teams. We also recommend having workshops and discussions about what else they need help with, or where they can see the AI team member fitting into other processes. And as I mentioned, if other people from your business saw the showcase or saw the work that you were doing throughout the project, let them know who to contact or how to look at starting using AI if they want to explore this option in a couple of months. We often find that when people see our voice AIs in one area of the business, it will take several weeks or months before they come across their own problem where they think, actually, this would be a perfect place to throw an AI at handling this type of conversation with my customers. The second point, as Constantine was speaking about, is to be open to experimentation. So throughout the pilot and when you're looking at expanding into other areas of the business, you can test with different customer cohorts, different channels, whether this is voice, AI, SMS, email, or even with the messaging with your AI. Our curious thing, because we have voice AI assistants, we even experiment with the tone of voice and personality and brand around the AI for different customers and call types, because it is an engaging experience and people engage in different ways depending on the persona that you build for your AI. And the last step is to upskill and train your AI, because your AI is a digital team member, and just like us, they thrive when they are given opportunities to keep learning and developing. So when you're reviewing conversations between the AI and your customers, and you're seeing that customers are behaving in a way that you might not have expected from the outset, you can train your AI to understand and handle these situations better. So it's a continuous learning process for the AI so that it can really understand and handle any conversation with your customers. And you can also upskill the AI to take on new challenges. Think about, could it be applied to another touch point in the same customer journey? So for example, we have some customers where the AI will have a welcome call and ask them to do a couple of onboarding steps to complete that process. And then in the second stage of implementing the AI, for customers that then don't do those key onboarding activities, the AI can then come along and have a second touch point in that same journey to follow up and see if there's any other support needed for that particular customer to push them along that activation process. You can also think about, could it be used in another area of the business? And if you're using AI for an inbound solution, for example, using AI for answering inbound frequently asked questions or inquiries, are there any other proactive outbound conversations that you could be having with your customers? Often we see that if you test or pilot conversational AI with an inbound low-risk environment, it often opens up more opportunities for your team to see, actually, here's a bottleneck in our process. Let's see if we can launch an outbound conversation type to help our customer support team and serve our customers better. So we hope that today's discussion has been helpful on your journey to hiring and onboarding your next AI digital team member. So now we'll take a few minutes to answer any questions from the audience. So if you've had any questions that have come up, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Wonderful. So we have one question that's come in, which is, automation is often perceived as expensive. How do we overcome this perception when we're pitching to our stakeholder team? Absolutely. So this is a really great question. And I think that I would start by saying for a lot of our customers, when it comes to pricing, this is something that you should absolutely be talking about at the start of the pilot process. And this is where it's really important to identify the key stakeholders where it matters. And also this will often come into what the success metrics are. So for us, because we're dealing with voice AI assistants, often we'll make one of the success benchmarks looking at what is the performance or the effectiveness of the AI comparative to an equivalent full-time employee. And so often if it's replacing one part of the scope of work, you're able to pitch to your stakeholder team what the value is of the AI for the business case in terms of what is the operational effort that we can take away from our full-time employees, or at least give them more operational capacity to be able to do the higher value work more effectively. Another question's coming in. What if my leadership team is bought in, but the team that I'm managing isn't? Another great question. So I'll let Constantine touch on this as well. But I think one of the things that we do often see is that if you're introducing, for example, voice AI as a new channel to help support your customer support team, sometimes the support team is brought in too late in the process to see what the value is. So for us, what we'll always do is we'll have a user excuse me, a user experience testing session to help the team to help your call center team actually have the conversation flow and get their feedback. So if you have their buy-in from the start of the process, they might be able to see actually this is something that we can see value in for our business process.
And just to add to that, it's, remember, it's, have fun with your team. We've had a lot of successes where we've introduced an AI, onboarded as if it was a real team member, and participating in all the niceties that come along with that. And yeah, just to second what Emma has said, that it's buy-in right from the start. It's including them, asking them on their feedback, and we find like them experiencing the calls themselves helps a lot to unsettle any tension that may be there, and just create a very open atmosphere of, hey, this is we've got this digital team member, this is what it sounds like, this is how it's going to help you, and generating that sort of cohesiveness.
Brilliant. And I think we'll have time for one more question. So we have from another attendee. Is it possible to speed up or front load AI learning so conversations can fit real world discovery or early stage conversations? So yes, absolutely. So we see this a lot for any of our inbound conversation types, because if you're setting up an inbound call to replace any IVR or the first point of contact when someone calls in your call center, the first question for the AI will be, what can I help you with today? And so from this, depending on your business type and the industry and the customer type, the AI could have 1,000 different possibilities of where it could go. So when we're in that early discovery and design phase with any of our clients, we'll often get feedback from the main ops team and also from the frontline staff in terms of what are the key conversations that you're receiving from your customers, or what are the most common simple inquiries that you think that we could offload from your team. And also ask to see to listen to real customer conversations or recordings that you can use to train into the AI before you build out the solution. So we do try to front load as much of the AI learning at the start of the project, so that when the AI is launched, it can handle 80% of the inquiries. And then over that AI training and learning process, that's when we start to find, actually, here are some more patterns that have emerged from the AI's understanding of conversations. Let's now build new AI models around understanding that, and then how to handle that appropriately in the conversation. Wonderful. So in that case, I will hand over to Constantine as we go into our closing remarks.
So when it comes to conversational AI, there's really no substitution for experiencing it yourself. We can show you how great it is on a slide deck, but until you hear it, we find that that's the best way to have that experience of what can this sound like for your organization. So we'd love to share our very own digital team member, Kat the AI. For attendees who have let us know the number to sign up, Kat will be giving you a call on Monday to chat with you more about the experience in our webinar today. And this is also an exciting opportunity for you to learn how our voice AI can sound like and conduct conversations for your business. If you didn't share your number and you don't want to miss out, please message us your number and we can set you up with a chat with Kate.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for your time, everyone, this morning. We're just on time. So I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone.